Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Bullpen podcast. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Sunday evening. I am your host, Adam Kunos. You can follow me on Twitter at Kunos19. You can also follow the show at the Bullpen Pod on Twitter as well. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and click and subscribe to our YouTube page as well for more exciting videos coming up this summer. We are sponsored by Fanatics, so please make sure you head over to Fanatics using the Linktree link in our Twitter bio for all your things Major League Baseball, including your upcoming Father's Day collection on field apparel, including hats, t-shirts, and more. Don't forget, you also have your upcoming 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Gear collection, your Mother's Day gear, Memorial Day gear, and also your 4th of July Stars and Stripe collection hats that will be released here shortly. So please head over to Fanatics using the Linktree in our Twitter bio. All right, so we are back after a little bit of a break, and I know it was a little bit of a break. It was about maybe 2 weeks since we've done a show. I think the last show we did was around, I think, middle of May. I did a show where we talked about home run celebrations and just how great the home run celebrations are going around Major League Baseball, but there was a reason why the show was a little bit delayed, why we weren't, I'm not going to say hiatus, but just not putting out shows on a regular weekly basis. And that is because during that time, I have been finishing up my degree. So if you have been following the show since the show began back in 2021, I am taking classes at Bellevue University online via Disney Aspire. And this past, I would say, week or so ago, I did finally complete my last online class. So all my online classes have been officially completed. So I am 98% of the way done with my degree. I still have 2% left to do. And the last part I'm doing is an internship, which I am currently working on. So I should have that fully wrapped up, ironically, around my birthday, about on July 7th, maybe a little after. So it is a huge relief to finally complete my college degree. It's something that I have been doing for the last 4 years. A little background on this: when I came down to Florida, I was taking classes up at College of DuPage Community College in the Chicago suburbs. When I started working for Disney on the college program, I did stop going to classes. I kind of paused on school to focus more on my job, just kind of setting up a life down here in Florida. But I was able to get back into school thanks to the Disney Inspire program, which has just been a huge relief the way they've been helping me get my education. But there are things that are going to happen. So the biggest thing for this is next summer I will be walking down the graduation aisle at, I want to say, Nebraska or somewhere in Idaho. Iowa, I believe, is like a small town that borders both states. But I will physically get my diploma next summer. So I will finally have my college education, which is going to be a big relief. There are a lot of people that I would love to think about this. The first being my wife, Rebecca. She has been a catalyst behind me getting my college degree. I know there's been some points where I have been too more focused on school, but it's big thanks to her for just kind of keeping me going, keeping me on track. I know that once we get this whole school done, we'll have a lot more time to travel, and we are going to talk about that too, because we do have a big announcement regarding the show coming up at the end of the show. My family, my parents, her parents, everyone that has been affiliated with me, thank you so much for being in my corner through this, but we are going to see this to the end, and the end of the road of college is almost near. So we are about maybe 3 to 4 weeks from school being officially over. All right, so we're in June now, and things are starting to heat up, and legitly heat up they have been. So if you haven't been following the news lately, there are a string of wildfires in Canada, close to Toronto, that have caused some issues for Major League Baseball and the United States here on the East Coast. If you're watching the show, I do have a picture of Yankee Stadium. I believe it was from this last week, to where they were getting ready for a White Sox Yankees. The White Sox were in town, so the first game they played, they did have to play through some smoke. It looked like an apocalyptic scene. If you've seen the pictures of New York City just in like smoky red, it looked like a scene from an alien flick, or it looked like a disaster movie just like come to life. But we had 3 Major League Baseball games postponed because of these wildfires in Canada. The White Sox Yankee game on June 7th was canceled. The Tigers and Phillies, so this went all the way down to Philadelphia, even went down to the Carolinas as well, where they're doing the smoke inhalation. Poor air quality was the reason these games were canceled, and I do applaud Major League Baseball for looking at player safety, looking at fan safety, and noticing that the air quality for these games was just unacceptable. And good on them for calling these games, but Tigers Phillies were canceled. Even the Diamondbacks Nationals game the following day on June 8th were canceled. Now, I believe that the White Sox Yankees did do a doubleheader the following day, both teams winning 1 game each. I do not know how the Phillies, Tigers, or Diamondbacks Nationals are going to do their games. I think the Diamondbacks Nationals have rescheduled their game for a later date. I just don't know when that date is. I don't know exactly when the Tigers Phillies game is going to be rescheduled as well. But this is not the first time that Major League Baseball has dealt with this. We go back to 2020 during the pandemic Major League Baseball season. I do have a picture up of the Giants out of San Francisco to where they were playing with the California wildfires back in 2020, and just how bad that air quality was. I believe that game was moved from San Francisco to Oakland just because even though it's across the bay, the air quality was just a slightly tad bit better. And I know players were just up in arms about why are they not canceling games or why are they playing in these poor conditions. So it's good on Major League Baseball that they're finally taking some initiative and finally looking at not only with rain delays but also air quality. And it's something that unfortunately, with the way that we're seeing these wildfires just pop up out random, that everyone's going to kind of keep an eye on. I know we're going to be traveling up north here in the next few weeks, so we're going to be keeping an eye on the wildfires. So it's something that we're going to have to keep an issue on. But thank God I haven't heard too many deaths with the wildfires in Canada. Hopefully they get this under control. Hopefully they can kind of subside the fire, and hopefully that we can go forward without any more delays because of wildfires. All right, so but looking forward to July, we're looking forward to the 2023 Major League Baseball All-Star Game that's going to be held in Seattle. The game returns to Seattle for the first time since 2001, and as of right now, voting for Major League Baseball's 2023 All-Star Game is underway. Now, I looked at an article on MajorLeagueBaseball.com earlier today, and they said, here's a list of a full roster of potential All-Stars who deserve to be in the All-Star Game or who could be a starter. And we're going to run through these players here real quick. We're going to start the catching position with Sean Murphy of the Atlanta Braves. Now, he is batting .287, 12 home runs, 42 RBIs, and .936 OPS. He has been just outstanding this season. He's one of the reasons why the Braves are still playing good. One of the reasons why the Braves are in first place right now in the NL East. I'm pulling up the standings just so I can get the exact record for the Braves right now, but they are playing good. The Braves are going to be reckoned. Yeah, the Braves are 40-25. They sit 3.5 games above the Marlins, who just took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox in Chicago. The Braves did lose today, but they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. So the Braves are still just a fantastic team. I think they're definitely going to be a team to reckon with when it comes to the postseason. Shifting over to the first base side, we're going to look at Yandy Diaz of the Tampa Bay Rays, and he is one of the catalyst players for this Rays team right now, and just how good this Rays team is. We look at the Rays. They did beat the Rangers today. They took a 2 out of 3 from the Rangers. So you looked at the best teams in the American League going down. Tampa and the Rays took 2 out of 3. So they kind of put a staple into just how good their season is. They're sitting at 48-20, a 706 winning percentage, 8-2 in the last 10 games. But Yandy Diaz, he's hitting .313, 12 home runs, 34 RBIs, .953 OPS. And his defense has been stellar this season. He's had some pretty good defensive plays over at first base, and he's just one of the main reasons why the Rays are such a good team right now and why they have such a great record and why they're probably going to get to maybe 60, 65 wins at this pace before the All-Star break. Shifting over to second base, we're going to look at Nolan Gorman of the St. Louis Cardinals. He's batting .259, 15 home runs, 46 RBIs, has stolen 4 bases, and 873 OPS. So he is actually doing fairly good. Now, the Cardinals, unfortunately, they're having a pretty bad season. They sit last in the NL Central, 27-39, a 409 winning percentage, 3-7 in their last 10 games. They are just not doing as good as we thought they'd be doing. But it is a thing when you have one of these players having a great season when the rest of the team is, when the team is collectively is playing bad. But outstanding second baseman, I do think I would love to see him in Seattle when All-Star voting comes. So if you're a Cardinals fan, make sure you get out, vote. You can use Twitter, go to MLB.com, cast your vote. You can vote as many times as you want in round one. Over to third base, we're going to look at Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers. Now, again, the Rangers just had a hard-fought series against the Rays, dropping 2 out of 3. But the Rangers are still controlling the the American League West. They are 41-23, a 641 winning percentage, 6-4 to the last 10. They have lost one again. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Rays, who are a pretty damn good team, and the Rangers themselves are a pretty damn good team too. So nothing against the Rangers right now, but Jung is batting .285, 13 home runs, 39 RBIs, OPS of 841. So he's just having a stellar season in Texas, and one of the reasons why the Rangers are so good this season. So now we talked about first, second, third. We're going to shift back to shortstop, and we're going to talk about Bo Bichette of the Toronto Blue Jays. 318 average, 14 home runs, 43 RBIs, OPS of 860. Now, this guy can hit. He is a decent hitter. He does have power behind that bat, but he's also a stellar shortstop. He's probably one of the better shortstops in the American League right now, and he's probably going to be your starting shortstop when you look at the voting and when it all comes down to who's going to get the starting nod. I believe that Bo Bichette of the Blue Jays will get that starting nod at shortstop. Now, again, the Blue Jays are in the toughest division in baseball. As of right now, every team in the American League East is at 500 or above. And what I mean by at 500, the Red Sox sit at 33-33 at 500, 14 games back. The Blue Jays are at 37-30, 552 winning percentage, 10.5 games back, but 7-3 in their last 10 games. They did win today, so they are playing good. So the Blue Jays, again, they're in a very tough division. And when you look at how the Blue Jays are in the wild card race, they are a game and a half behind Houston for that third American League wildcard spot. You got Baltimore, New York, Houston, who are leading that wildcard chase right now. But Bo Bichette is one of the reasons that the Blue Jays are going to be a team to reckon with when it comes down to June, August, and even September. They will be a good team. They're going to be definitely a playoff-bound team, hopefully, if they can get everything working together and kind of go through this tough division. Going out to the outfield, we're going to start with Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. And again, we knew what this guy did in the World Baseball Classic, just how much fun he had playing with Team Mexico, the swagger, the confidence, and just the celebrations he had when it came to home runs, making incredible plays. He has brought that back to Tampa with him, and it's just one of the reasons why him, Yandy Diaz, and a handful of Rays players right now are just making this team just effing amazing. Rosarina is batting .289, 12 home runs, 44 RBI, has stolen 9 bases at 894 OPS. Our other outfielder we're going to talk about hails from the desert, and Corbin Carroll, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, he has been just absolutely stellar. I mean, he had a series to remember in Detroit as Diamondbacks swept the Tigers in Detroit. The Diamondbacks sit at 40-25. They're 3.5 games above the Dodgers in the National League West. And who would have thought that the Diamondbacks would be playing this good? I mean, I am a Diamondbacks fan. I didn't think they would have this good of a team. I thought they were maybe a year or so away from just being a good team. But I am happy to see them playing this well. Again, they're 8-2 in their last 10 games, 5-game winning streak. Carroll is batting .308, 13 home runs, 33 RBIs, 19 stolen bases, and has a slugging OPS of .968. And our last outfielder we're going to talk about is Masataka Yoshida of the Boston Red Sox. Now, the Red Sox are in the basement of the American League East, but they're at 500. But again, they're in the toughest division in baseball. So you talk about how just good this division is. The Red Sox are in a very tough division. The fact that they're sitting at 500 is a testament to just how good this team could be, but I don't think they're going to be a stellar team. However, Yoshida's batting .305, 7 home runs, 33 RBIs, 3 stolen bases, has an OPS of .856. So he is one of the reasons that the Red Sox are staying afloat in the American League East. And if you look at the wild card race, they're only 4 games back of Houston in the wild card race, so they're still technically in it. but it is going to be hard for the Red Sox to kind of climb into this hole that they've gotten going through. So we've covered the infield, we covered the catching position, we covered our outfield, but who's the DH that deserves to be an all-star? And for that, we're going to go down to Miami for Jorge Soler. He's batting .258, 19 home runs, 38 RBIs, and an OPS of .903. Now, the Marlins, who just took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, they had 2 wins that they had to come back and win in the ninth inning. They just ate away at the White Sox bullpen, which has been having issues. They had issues early in the season. They kind of corrected, but they just kind of issues that pop back up. The Marlins are 37-29, 3.5 games back of the Braves with a .561 winning percentage, 8-2 in their last 10 games. And again, they won their last 2 games in Chicago. So the Marlins are playing good. So they have a good team down in Miami. And when you look at the wild card spot right now, the Marlins actually sit 3 games above the Brewers for that second wild card spot. They're actually tied with the Dodgers for that first wild card spot. So the Marlins are good. The Rangers are good. The Rays are fucking amazing. The Diamondbacks are playing good. So it's just a great time if you're a fan of teams that haven't really had a chance to win over the last few seasons, who are now finally hitting their mark. I mean, you got Baltimore, who's playing good. They had a great season last year to end. They almost made the playoffs last year. They're having a fantastic season. You got the Marlins, you got the Diamondbacks, you got Pittsburgh, who is currently leading the National League Central Division. When I pull up the standings, they're actually a game ahead of the Brewers, sitting at 34-30. So again, both Central divisions in the American League and National League aren't the best divisions, but unfortunately, someone has to win those divisions. So we're going to see how that looks going forward. So like I said, All-Star voting is underway. The way the All-Star voting works, it's going to be round 1 where you're voting for players who will get into the All-Star game. That will go, I'm going to pull up those notes here. Phase 1 of the All-Star voting will be open until June 22nd, with Phase 2 starting on June 26th. So if you haven't done so already, get on social media, get to MLB.com, vote for your favorite player. Vote for who you think deserves to be at the All-Star game. We have a lot of great players who are having fantastic seasons out there who deserve to make this All-Star team. So please go out and vote for who you think deserves to be in the All-Star game. Now, the All-Star game, let me pull up the dates for that real quick. Now, the All-Star game will take place on July 11th, Tuesday, July 11th. The Home Run Derby will take place on Monday, June 10th. And just like last year, we'll bring you up-to-date stats on the entire Home Run Derby, the entire All-Star game. We'll do a pre-show before that on Sunday the 9th, and then we'll do a recap show the following week. So we'll have your best All-Star coverage here on the Bullpen Podcast coming up in July. All right, so as we move through the show, we're going into the Bullpen Series preview. We're going to look at 3 series here coming up. I think these are 3 good series as we look at who's going to be coming up this week. So, give you an update on the standings. I did have to go back a few weeks to figure this out, but the race is tight here in the Kunos household. My wife still holds a 2-game lead over me. If you can't see this, but she is in the back right now, kind of doing a happy dance, throwing hands in the air because she knows that she has pretty much been kicking my ass. However, comeback is coming. I am making a comeback, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only 2 games back of this, but we're going to look at a couple series here and give you our picks. The first series here is a AL East matchup, and we're going to be talking about the Blue Jays and the Orioles. So Baltimore, again, sits at 41-24. They're second in the American League East, 5.5 games back of the Tampa Bay Rays, 6-4 in their last 10 games. They are on a 4-game winning streak. The Blue Jays sit at 37-30, 552 winning percentage, 10.5 games back, 7-3 in their last 10. They have won their last game. Now, I am going to pull up the schedule because I want to see when these teams have faced each other, if they've faced each other already. So, yeah, this is going to be a great series in my opinion. You got Baltimore, who's just playing fantastic, and these teams did meet earlier in May. Baltimore did sweep Toronto, and that game was held at the Rogers Center in Toronto. So Baltimore does have a 3-game advantage over Toronto. They got another 3-game series coming up here this week, and then they will face each other on a 4-game series at the end of July, beginning of August. and they'll have one more series in August as well. So they do have 2 more series after this one, so they will be fighting out probably for a wild card spot after this. I don't see the Rays letting up in the AL East. I think they're just going to continue pounding away and just having this amazing season. So I don't think that these teams will be playing for an AL East title. I think they're going to be playing more for a wild card spot. So I think they're going to be jockeying for either the top spot in the wild card or the second or third spot. But who do we think is going to win this game? We are both saying Baltimore in this household. We think Baltimore will take this series. I don't know if it's going to be a sweep. I do think Toronto will get at least one game in, but my wife and I are in agreement that Baltimore will take this series. The next series we're going to talk about, ladies and gentlemen, this is a family feud on my wife's side. It is the Red Sox and Yankees. And now when we were picking this game, she did tell me I had to pick my favorite parent. I'll give you a little insight. Her dad's a Yankee fan. Her mom is a Red Sox fan. So she did have to pick the favorite of the two. But as we're looking at this, is another AL East matchup. Yankees have been kind of teetering back and forth. They have been playing well. They did drop 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. I'm actually going to pull up their last game so I can tell you, get some good info on how they've been doing. So they did drop 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. They did drop 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox this past weekend. They have a 2-game series against the Mets coming up, and then they're going to be traveling to Fenway to face the Red Sox again. So who do we think is going to win this one? But let's take a look at how Boston's been doing. Now, we know that Boston did take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees earlier. They have a 3-game series against Colorado coming up, and then they're going to be at home against the Yankees. I am picking the Yankees in this one. I think the Yankees can bounce back from this one. However, my wife is going to side with her mom on this one and pick the Red Sox. So we are split in this household. I'm going with the Yankees. My wife will be going with the Red Sox. Now, the last series we're going to pick is another rivalry series, and that is the San Francisco Giants at the LA Dodgers this weekend. We're going to take a look at just how these teams have done this past week. So we're going to start with the San Francisco Giants. They did drop 2 out of 3 to Baltimore. However, they did bounce back and did sweep Colorado in Denver. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Cubs in San Francisco. They are going to be traveling to St. Louis to start the week to take on the Cardinals and then travel to LA to end the week. So the Giants, again, lost the series to Baltimore, won the series against Colorado, dropped the series against the Cubs. So they've been kind of up and down. The Giants are at 500 right now in the NL West. They are behind the Dodgers. And again, they're looking up at Arizona right now, who are just playing fantastic. But we know what Los Angeles can do. We know how good this team is. And let's take a look at just how good this team has been over since the beginning of June. They did take 2 out of 3 against the Yankees at home, but they did drop 2 out of 3 to Cincinnati and Philadelphia on the road. So they had they went 2 for 4 on their latest road trip. Now they are coming home to face the White Sox at Dodger Stadium to begin the week, and then they end with the Giants at the end of the week. So there is a quick 6-game homestand before they travel to Anaheim to face the Angels and then return home to face Houston. Again, Dodgers, Giants, you know that these two teams are going to battle it out. You know this is going to be a tight series. We all saw what the series looked like in the playoffs back in 2021 when the Dodgers came back to beat the Cardinals in the NL wildcard game. The Giants just had a fantastic season. Both teams won over 100 games last year and were just 1 game away from each other in the standings. But we are saying that the Dodgers are going to take this series. We both like LA. I think LA will bounce back after a bad road trip. They do have the White Sox coming in, but I think that the White Sox will play LA tough this year to start the week. But I do think that they will bounce back to beat the Giants, and my wife is with me on that as well. So to recap our series, we are both picking Baltimore. We are split on the Yankees, Red Sox, and we are both picking the Dodgers to go forward with this series. So we will see how these series line up, and we will give you a recap at our show next week. All right, so I did have an announcement regarding the show. We are going to be going on a road trip here at the end of June. I'm going to be traveling with my wife's family. We're going to be flying up to Canada I'm actually be flying up to Canada with my father-in-law to meet up with my wife and her mom, and then we're going to do a road trip through Canada down to Michigan, do the UP, do the state of Michigan, and then Ohio, and then fly back pretty much on July 4th. But we are going to be doing some live broadcast on the road. We're going to be taking the Bullpen podcast on the road for the first time in this show's history. We are going to be doing some live broadcasts because we are going to be seeing 2 baseball games while we're on the road trip. The first game we're going to see, we will be at the Rogers Center on June 25th to see the Blue Jays versus Athletics. We are looking forward to this. We got tickets for the new outfield district, so we're just looking forward to seeing what they did with the renovations, kind of seeing how that atmosphere looks. So I am looking forward to seeing the Blue Jays in Toronto face the Athletics. I am wearing a Blue Jays hat, so I was kind of teasing the first game that we will be seeing. And we will be doing a live stream on Twitter for that time. So my wife's going to join me. We're going to tell you exactly what we're going to do. We do have some traditions while we go to a new stadium. We love to walk around, visit the stadium. We do have one tradition that we will be continuing at these stadiums. We have to find the 2010 All-Star Mickey that was at the All-Star game in Anaheim. So we've found them at every stadium we've been at, with the exception of, I believe, Washington. But the last Mickey I did find was at Global Life Field in Texas. So we will be on the hunt for the 2010 All-Star Mickey statue. To any fans of the Blue Jays who are listening, if you want to give us a hint on where we can find this Mickey statue, please leave it in our comment sections under the show. We would gradually appreciate that. And then to end the road trip, we will be at Progressive Field on July 3rd to see the Guardians versus the Braves. Now, for this one, we did purchase some tickets for the club level, so we are going to be on the club level section of the first base side. We are looking forward to this because first time we're going to be in Cleveland, so we are going to knock out another stadium. I don't have the Guardians hat, but there will be a purchase of a new Guardians hat at the game. Again, we're going to be doing a live stream on Twitter with my wife. We're going to kind of give you our thoughts on the stadium, what the atmosphere feels like. We're definitely going to be taking a lot of pictures throughout the stadium. So we're very excited to take the show on the road. We're going to do a live broadcast both from Toronto and Cleveland. And then when we get back from this trip, we will do a general recap of the stadiums and kind of give you our overall review of the stadiums, what we liked, what we disliked, how the food was, how the drinks were. We know that there's going to be definitely some beer drinking at both games. Some souvenir cups will come home. A new hat will come home. So we are looking forward to doing this road trip here at the end of the week. End of the month. So we are going to be leaving June 25th will be our first day on the trip. We get up, we go right to a baseball game. We spend the week on the road going to different campsites, national parks, just some exciting new scenes to see. And then we end with the baseball game before we fly back on July 4th. Well, folks, that is our show for the evening. I hope you have enjoyed the show. Again, we're going to be doing shows every Sunday live at 10 p.m. here on the Bullpen Podcast. You can catch the show on YouTube, on Twitter. We will have this episode cut and available for you to download on any podcast device that you have. You can get this show on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Please make sure you subscribe and like the show and download. Please leave a review on our show page. I do look at the reviews. I do appreciate the feedback from you guys and how the show is doing. But until then, have a wonderful Sunday, everyone. Be safe. Have a great week, and we will see you back on Sunday.